Hello, my loves, and welcome to this beautiful feedback call. I'm so excited for you guys to be able to drop in and hear the story and journey of my beloved Courtney, who's going to be coming in to join us. For one major big reason, my journey with Courtney is different to any other woman. Inside SEM, we get women from all around the world coming in to come into their central embodiment, into their power, into their truth. And Courtney happened to be a dear friend of mine in the early days of my life. Me and Quartz became best friends when we were about 13 or 14, and we have remained friends since. And she has walked with me through my journey. And if you know anything about my journey, you're going to know that I hit the lowest of the lows. And there are not a lot of people that stayed in my life. However, Courtney is one of the friends who did. And this year, she said she felt ready to come into her journey. And the reason I really want to record this feedback and this testimonial and this experience and this journey for you guys is that a lot of women come into my space and they're like, I want to heal so that I can be a healer for other women, so that I can be in my power to empower other women. And if that's you, I pray that this gives you that permission slip and that opening to know it is possible. Courtney was the friend who sat with me in the mental clinic when I was suicidal and I was on 10 different medications and I had chronic depression and I was locked up in a shrink. She was the friend who came and sat next to me and said, Em, you're going to get through this. You're going to do it. And after that, I went on my journey and I followed and created SEM and I transformed my life. And now, all these years later, me and Quartz came to a place in our friendship where she reached out and she said, Em, I have watched your transformation and I'm ready to do the same. I am ready to come into my power. And so, my loves, wherever you are on your journey, I pray that our story and what we drop into today gives you so much faith and hope that wherever you are, if you are believing that you want to be that woman who heals and transmutes and comes into her power so that you can empower other women, may this be a testimony for you because that's exactly what happened here between me and Quartz. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear her journey and our journey and where she was and where she is and all of the fucking beautiful shifts that come from women who embody into their sensuality to transform into their power and their capacity to hold themselves and one another. This truly is a story of Together We Rise. And I'm so excited for Courtney to drop in so that we can start to chat and unfold all of the magic for you. So stay tuned. Okay, my love, welcome to the space. It's so special to have you, and thank you for dropping in and being here. Before we kind of dive into everything, let us know a little bit about you. Name, journey, a little background.
So, um, hi everyone. Hi Emma. So wonderful to be here. So my name is Courtney and I'm from South Africa. I'm specifically from Cape Town. And I started this journey in a space of not really knowing what it was, having like a small idea, but not knowing completely. And I must say before I dive into everything else that getting to know the SEM practice and actually getting to find out the nitty-gritty and the bits and pieces of what SEM actually is has developed me as a person, just for my knowledge base, and also in a very like holistic sort of manner. Um, by this time I've already forgotten the questions. Emma, do we have to start again?
No, we're here.
Can you cut that out? Okay, cool. I
Definitely
feel like
not.
I'm in a fucking interview right now. I'm putting my best foot forward here.
We're gonna
Oh,
do
I'm
a
going red.
dramatic speaking practice. No. So as we
Okay.
said in the original comments, Quartz and I have been best friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And we both had a giggle before we hit record because we were like, okay, we've got like all of our flow and go to like give people the things. But let's start here, babe. When I basically dropped in with you and we dropped in earlier this year, it was obviously some rough times going on. There was like a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, where are you at? And we kind of spoke about joining into SEM. And what I'd love you to share, just for people who are coming into this space, is where you were when you began, like when you started. What was happening with you, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? What was going on in your journey?
Sure. When I first started, I thought I was in an okay place. Um, but in retrospect, looking back, I really wasn't. Um, I was highly stressed, just confused about where I was, what I was doing, and kind of at a loss for how I actually deal with a lot of my problems. Because my problems had built up over a long time, and as people, you tend to suppress them and think, okay, I'm going to come back to this one day. And I had begun to realize that all these things that I was suppressing were starting to essentially become triggers for me in my day-to-day life, specifically in my work environment. And it really left me wondering why am I suddenly changing my personality? And why am I suddenly becoming angry and I'm not able to focus and communicate? And I was just at a bit of a loss. And then I think Emma's senses just kicked in from across the world. And she called me up and she asked me if I'd like to join this course. And thinking back, and this is why I said her senses kicked in, it's because I was in a space where I could have this course help me. And if I didn't have that course help me at that specific time to carry me to today, the last couple of months were played out very differently. Um, you could say I actually came at the perfect time, um, because I know I was on a very difficult path, juggling work and studies, being part-time, but actually being full-time student and in a full-time job where it's a lot of responsibilities that have been placed on me that I've never had to handle before.
Yeah.
And then things with my family, specifically my family's health, were really, really bad. I'd undergone a lot of death in the family, a lot of intensive medical issues like cancers, severe brain trauma, both my father and my sister. And once again, I didn't take the time to deal with that.
Mm,
And again, that was pushing me down a bit more. And in the back of my head, I knew what it was.
yeah.
But my friend was like, no, 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 Courtney, you have to just keep going because you're in a space where you can't let slip. And I was slipping, even though I tried to convince myself that I was doing just fine and great.
Yeah.
Um, so compared to where I was and where I'm today, I will say I'm in a heck of a lot of a better space. And yeah, because it was a lot to take in.
Mm,
There's still some things that I feel that I need to go back and address. Um, but the thing is, I know how, and I
yeah.
know what to do to actually deal with those things in my life now.
And I think
Um,
just
yeah.
on what you're saying, like, firstly, thank you for sharing. And again, I think it's like so fucking important that women get this, that we have these scripts like, I have to keep going because we're in fight or flight. Like, our central nervous systems are shot, and it's literally like do or die. And I think a lot of girls, we are in these situations. It's not even dramatic. It's like we're facing in today's society so much like family sickness, workloads, like so much that puts us in our, I call it like our masculine energy. And there's a part of us that's like, I have to trudge on. But
Mm,
like you were saying, there's this like repression that happens inside us, and we suppress and we suppress and we suppress, and we start to see it boiling out into our lives, into our bodies, into our capacity to hold, into our self-esteem.
mm,
It becomes really crippling. And it's like, what do we do? How do we do it? And like, I know when we kind of came together, just from everything you're saying, like it was that kind of point where it's like, yeah, I had to push on, but there was also this like undertone.
mm,
And a question I have on that, like from that point to where you are now, obviously we're now 10 weeks in. We haven't fully finished. There's still things, but we are 10 weeks into the journey. Where are you right now when it comes to like emotional capacity, communication capacity, even
Mm.
physical central nervous system regulation? How are you feeling in your systems?
A lot better. I've gotten to the point where look, my boundaries are quite strong.
Mm,
They always had been, but it was with, friends and in like a personal capacity. It wasn't necessary that I'd enforce that in like my work-life balance. For my central nervous system, breathing exercises, never used to do it before. I actually started doing it now, and it really, really helps. And also being able to recognize when I know I'm going to start like, I'm almost like tipping over the edge. I'm like, okay, cool. I see you, and I'm not going to let you go that way.
mm,
Um, because, things can tip over very fast.
mm,
And being able to manage that has really helped. I also found writing has also helped me a lot. And
mm.
I've always been a writer. I enjoyed writing, but it was never consistent.
Yeah.
And I've been able to consistently write at least like once a week. When I can actually touch base and you just have a chat with myself, which is really
I love
cool.
it. So good.
Yeah, and I always chat to myself and like I'll find myself writing the most like obscure thing. That's my subconscious. That's exactly what I'm putting down on paper.
Mm,
So in terms of like how I'm managing now, is a lot better. It's more structured in a way instead of just like, when people give you advice on like what to do, oh, I'm feeling stressed. Have you tried exercise? Have you tried this? Et cetera, et cetera. Those things are all good and well if people are just saying it to you, but actually having things that you can do in the moment. It's not like I get stressed out, I'm just going to go for a jog. I can't do that. I'm not going to go run around in a circle, but there are other things that I can do now.
yeah. And it's also just like so amazing because I think so much of like what my like heart is to teach women that we have the capacity to soften in the midst of everything because it is a full-on world. And when we have these like tools and we have the capacity to put boundaries into place and we have the capacity to know how to catch ourselves and to be like,
Mm.
okay, I'm not going to tip, I'm not going to burn out, I'm not going to freak out. I know how to care and look after myself. We can be in a rested state in our bodies. And it's that point where we become much more magnetic, we become much more open. I'm actually really curious, just kind of side notes. What do you think from SEM were like the things that really helped you get there? Like, I know we go into like loads of different practices and tools, but like, what were the things that for you like changed the game and how?
You mean in terms of like what are the specifics that actually like properly helped me?
Yeah, what were your things?
Meditation and cord cutting,
Wow.
straight,
Wow.
100%. 100%. That was like the point where I felt the biggest difference.
Wow.
100%. And it does make sense for me, because I do, and I feel that I was out of touch with my spiritual side for a long time, and also out of touch with my feminine because I do have quite a dominant masculine side, and I think that was almost pushed into overdrive
Mm,
being in my current work situation and where I'm currently living. And I think because my feminine was so suppressed and she was almost like shoved into a little corner, I think that's what actually offset me so much. Um, so, for instance, just a bit of like detail, when we were in our meditation practices, a lot of the time I would see myself on the other side, but it was a softer Courtney. She was very soft, and that for me was my feminine standing in front of me. And I had to make like a concerted effort to just like hold her and like you don't have to just be shoved in a corner. You can still be that woman because you are that woman.
mm,
And being in this kind of work environment has unnecessarily forced you into a place you shouldn't be. Because at
Mm,
the end of the day, you're still a beautiful woman. Why the hell do you have to kind of bend those normalities that you find in like a male-dominated area? It's just not fair.
mm.
Um, so the meditation helped. Um, what else? I want to say the pelvic floor thrusting.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna get into the dearmoring stuff.
It was
So fun.
great. You kind of think like if anyone could see me right now, they must think I'm a flippin' weirdo.
Every
But I
time.
must, when you pound your hips onto the ground and you let noise out, game changer. That was nuts.
So I always like women hold so much in our hips, we hold so much in our body.
Yeah.
And something like I definitely hear you say that I want to touch on, especially for any
Mm.
girls who are watching this, is what I've found is a lot of women don't have a safe space to actually be that soft feminine. It's like, oh my God, she's there, but I don't get her. And at least from what I'm hearing you say, and I've felt in our journey as well, is like these spaces give us the opportunity to meet and be that woman, even if it's for an hour and a half a week, and to start to let her take up space and let her release energy and let her feel and let her do weird shit and open up her hips. But it gives the soft feminine space. Um,
Yeah, 100%. Because I think that's something that was the main part for me is just literally getting together with a group of girls and just chatting and being allowed to be that soft feminine self that we all are. Because otherwise I didn't get that opportunity, I didn't get that chance. And I love doing things like that. I love speaking to women because women are great. Um, so to be able to know every single week, cool, I'm gonna see all these ladies, we're gonna celebrate one another. It's just really heartwarming, especially if I knew, look, I've had a crap week or I've had a hard day. Um, I just want to kind of de-stress and just like and shake my body around, you know?
Let me ask you this, just like again, very curious. What do you think
Mm.
has been the biggest transformation for you from where you were to where you are now? What is like the one area where you're like, that part of my life has really changed forever and it's growing and glowing?
My communication style with particular personalities. I
Um,
can't say people because it's a very particular personality that I always came into conflict with. And, getting to understand personality tendencies and, that sort of thing, it made so much sense. I kind of thought, oh my God, is this why I kept fighting with this person? This is why I could never. Sometimes it was good and sometimes it was very bad. For the most part, it was very bad. And I kind of wondered why. And then, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, it must be the way I'm speaking to them and the way I'm bringing up certain topics was not conducive for them. So I think that part for like it that bridges many, many fields. I mean, that could be in multiple aspects of your life. It's communication and how you speak to people and actually identifying what kind of person they are to then go forward because it makes a huge difference. So I think that's something that I'll definitely keep with me for the rest of my life.
um,
And yeah, it made a huge difference to where I operate these days, which is cool.
so amazing. And like, yes, pillar four, know yourself, but it's so like, I think a lot of again, like women, when we disconnect from our femininity, it's because we don't know how to communicate and set boundaries. Like we really struggle with it. So we go into our masculine, we go into our hard structure, we go into this like fighting energy. And when we understand like egos and humans and personality types and our pattern, I know because I also attract certain personality tendencies in before I started healing, and it was like the same shit, different
Yeah,
things consistently
yeah,
in my life. And when we crack that code, it's like oh my God, like I can shift, I can release, I can let that go. I have freedom. I'm not judging myself. It's okay. But yeah, super powerful. Okay, let me couple last little questions, dig into the all the goodie box. Um, yeah, let me ask you this.
Mm.
Hmm. Was there anything that nearly prevented you from joining into the space when you were first coming in, like a couple months ago?
Yes. Okay, so there's from a very like so I'm gonna take surface level and then I'm gonna go a bit more personal. So from the surface, it was thinking more of, okay, how am I gonna balance this out? How am
Hmm.
I gonna have time to join a group? How am I gonna have time to cook food? How am I gonna have time to do X, Y, and Z? You know, like there's a lot of things going on in your day-to-day life that you think actually takes up so much time. But if you really think about it, it's not that much time. Like, and there's something which I realized, this is potentially separate from the group, is that people think they have no time in life, but really they have the most. And if you wanted to, you would. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to dedicate a bit of time to that, you would. So,
So
yeah, that's,
powerful. I want to be like louder for the people in the back.
yeah, because people, they seem to get in this mindset of like, no, sorry, I couldn't reply to you because I didn't have time. I think, no, because you'll have 4 to 3 hours to sit on social media. So
Yeah.
how can you say you don't have time?
Mm.
But that's a side thing. Okay, on a more personal note, why I was like a little bit apprehensive to join, and it's sort of linked to the time thing of because of my relationship, my previous relationship with you, I didn't want to disappoint you in case I fucked up. And in case because you looked me dead in the eyes and you were like, Courtney, you need to dedicate your life to this. I said, Emma, sure thing, girl. I will do that. I made a promise to you that night.
Oh, I
And
love
I knew if I backtrack on that, you are going to give me absolute hell. So I knew I had to do
that
this.
doesn't do. I would never do. When it comes to personality tendencies, you girls will learn. Upholder. Courtney
Yeah,
would oblige.
big time. Like, if you sign up, you are in it. You do not pull out, you are in this. I said, okay, I'm a sure thing, honey. I'm with you. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy you did because I mean, there were times when I just said, look, Emma, I just don't, I can't do tonight. I have a headache. I'm just not feeling up to it. And you were very gentle and you said, like, it's okay. But you kind of were like, but if you really feel like it, you can join. And I was just like, okay. And you know what? I did join. And I possibly had one of the nicest sessions with everyone because I could actually get out, I could get off my chest what I was feeling and what was actually causing me a headache and a lot of anxiety surrounding my life. And funnily enough, that session that we had, I think um it was yoni gazing and there was a breath practice on I think it was this one. It
Yeah.
was this when you essentially just loosen up your body and you do deep breaths and that's just for calming yourself down. And again, right time here. And I needed that to happen. And then from that, I was like, oh my gosh, another tool I can actually use. And then I used it for a couple of days. And I was just like, wow, this works so well. So yeah, the the gentle prod does really work.
Like, thank you so much for sharing this for two reasons. One, like, so many women come into the space and we do think we don't have time. So that's like such an
Mm,
important one. It's like, oh, because subconsciously the mind knows it's going to experience change, and change can come as a threat. And so we kind of bolster ourselves with saying, like, I'm really busy. I have all these responsibilities. I have all this stuff. But one thing, like, I'm so grateful that you share is like, you have a full-time job. You are studying a master's degree. You are like fully in probably one of the busiest, most responsibility, like laden times of your life, plus family sicknesses, plus there's so much going on in your life. And you had the time and the space, and in it, it gave you the space to actually soften, to actually decompress, to actually come back into your essence.
Mm,
I feel like as women, we have to remember that that is what it's about, because life is full on. And like, I never want anyone to deny it, but it's creating sacred spaces.
mm.
And the second thing is, I'm so glad you share about me, because I'm like, yes. A lot of girls come in and they're like, I want accountability. And I'm like, well, you're going to get it with this coach. I tell ya.
Say no more.
Say no more. This is the space for accountability. But also so like, so good to hear and to know, and also to hear that even if it can be intense, like when we lean in, and that was also my journey, was like I would push myself to be like, lean in to your pleasure, lean into being
Mm,
seen in your shit. Because so many girls, like you said, like we want to appear so good at our best, the best student, the best is doing our best. And it's not what it's about for me. Like embodiment is about showing up in your body as she is, in the state of being that your life has created, and letting her come back so you're in your power, so that it is like, and I'm so grateful you leaned into those spaces and also had that switch inside where it's like, I can show up as I am, and it's safe and it's perfect, and I don't have to be perfect. Me is perfect. And in that state, it's like, oh God, the headache went, the body relaxed, the dearmoring, the most powerful session I ever had. And made like, oh, just amazing. Like, it's so perfect. Thank you for sharing this. Like, my heart, like, um,
yeah, I mean, it's something that got so hectic that I nearly burnt my house down. Um, for that one specific
spontaneous
instance.
combustion happened.
It was mad. It was really mad. But yeah, thank you so much for allowing me into this space. Like proper thank you. It's done a world of wonder for me. And something that came up now while you were speaking is I got to allow myself to almost have a dedicated day that was for me. And friends try to phone me, and I would say, no, sorry, I had my women's group today. I'm not contactable for the rest of the evening because I'm in a space now
Mm,
and I don't want anything else affecting that.
wow.
So it did give me a lot of security, um, especially on like in a particular 1 day a week or even once every 2 weeks for our full moon practices. Yeah, that's just something extra I wanted to add there.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
Before
you.
we close, a couple more questions, just a few. One, what what made you pull the trigger and join in? What was the thing that was like, okay, yeah, fuck it, I'm in?
All besides you looking at me,
The
you
eyes
know,
got you.
what it was is the fact that I knew I had lot of shit on my plate. Not even like the shit that I'm dealing with. It's like I knew I had a lot of unresolved trauma, and that trauma was in many aspects of my life within my body. And I knew that I had tried a more conventional uh, counseling way. Did not work for me. It just didn't align with me. I didn't click with the people that were I was going to enter into that space with, and it wasn't right for me. And when I came in, I thought, we're similar. I I've bonded with you. So why would me entering to something that you've dedicated your life to not align with me? Of course it does. Of course, we're in the same. we have the same like I don't know, like I'm thinking of our minds meshing together, but that's sort of what I want to say, but not quite. But you get what I'm saying. So that is something that really clicked for me, and the
Mm.
fact that I know that this is something I should not turn down or turn away from because I've tried before. And the fact that it's coming up for me now, it's the perfect time for me to do this. Even though I was fighting myself saying, no, but you don't have time, etc., etc. But honestly, it's probably the best things I've done for myself to cope in this environment.
Wow.
Mm.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Also, like, fuck yes. Like, resonance, again, coaching and coming into spaces, you have to vibe. Like, you have to have a resonance with that person because you're going to take it and apply it to your life. And you need to know, like, it's an energy and you're going to take from it what you will. But when
Mm.
it comes in and leaning in, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, yes, give him the eyes. Final question. What would you honestly say to someone who was thinking about joining? What would be like your words that you would like to share to them or say to them?
I'd say don't be afraid of change. Don't shy away from yourself and don't think that you know yourself as much as you think you know yourself. Don't not want to do it just because other people might be changing your mind. You know, this is something you do for yourself, and if you want to do something for yourself, then do it. Um, and it's not what you may see is not what it's necessarily about. Your previous misconceptions that you might have will most likely be incorrect. Um, and I would invite people just to come with an open mind to learn about themselves, learn about ancient practices that people have been doing for many, many years. Because if it worked for them, why wouldn't it work for us? And why wouldn't it work for you?
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think if someone had told me that in the beginning, I'd be like, shit, okay, I get you. It is, yeah. Otherwise, just do it, dude. Straight up, do it.
But yeah, to reflect back what you just said, and I said it like at the beginning when I did a little intro, like, if it can work for us, it will work for you. And I think you and I can both say that from like such a humble place because we can sit here now, like what, 15 years into knowing each other and be like, wow, we've transformed, we've come through so much. But like where we began in our lives and like the shit we got up to and like the traumas
Oof.
and the like the men and like again for the culture watching Courtney saw me in my worst freaking states and these practices aren't like some like unattainable. It's here to transform you as a woman so that you can have the capacity to hold yourself, to hold your family, to hold generational lineages, to hold your job, and to like be in that space of empowerment. And it's for all of us. I think that's my biggest thing with like essential. I'm like, your feminine is right there. Like your power, your softness, your beauty, your capacity is there. We just need to like do the dot to dots, have the method, create the space, and have people who put the fire under our butts
Yeah, no, 'cause yes, yes, you do.
to learn it and to be it, and then to see that transformation.
Yeah, and I thank you for always sharing about yourself. And if I, because I was there, I saw everything. You really have done the absolute most to get yourself through everything that happened to you. You would really, I don't know if people, if you can fully understand what it's like to go through what you went through, because you went through a hell of a lot. And it was many, many years, and it was men, it was family, it was abuse, it was hard to see, and you truly were broken in some way. And throughout this entire time that I've been with you, I've gotten to see where exactly. you have shifted and where exactly you have just had that switch to become you and to have the light back in your life. Um, I'm I'm gonna start crying now, but has been really beautiful to watch you, Emma, and your transformation in life. It's been absolutely amazing to watch. So actually, congratulations to you for going through everything. Not necessarily come to go through everything, but to become the woman that you have today and to be in a space to want to actually share that with other people because you've gone through it. You know exactly what it's like.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing. And like for me as well, like thank you for being in this space and then like going through it too. I like it was
Mm.
always the thing is like as women, we're here to like empower others. And you were my friend who when I was in the darkest was like, you don't quit. Talking about the one who gives the eyes. You're like, you don't give up. You get your shit
Accountability goal.
together.
Yeah.
And then
It's
we
care that you have for other people. That's what it is. If you care about someone, you're not going to let them go through horrible things.
yeah.
That's what it is.
And it is like I always say it like in all my Instagram stuff. I'm like, together we rise, but it's like a real thing. I'm like, together as sisters, we get to rise. We get to pass the baton. We get to transform. And we get to learn, at least for me, a method of ways to make it sustainable amidst the chaos of the human experience, of which it's never not going to be fucking wild, people. Um, but yeah, just to say thank you for being in this space and thank you for sharing so deeply. It's such an honor. And for anyone who's watching this, girls, we welcome you into the space. And I hope our story and our journey and our talk gives you that capacity to lean in as well. And yeah, any last words, darling, before we close up?
I think I've said what I need to say.
You said it. I love you.
No, this was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Of
Thank
course,
you so, so much.
of course, of course, of course.